What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be doing another 3-round mock draft with trades. It's going to be split up into 2 different days. Today is going to be day 1, round 1, and tomorrow is going to be day 2, rounds 2 and 3, just like the NFL draft. Also, continuing on later this week, we'll be having a 2025 NFL mock draft coming exclusively from this one. So, you got to pay attention to make sure that you're fully up to date. Otherwise, that mock draft's going to be like, what the hell is going on here? So, stay tuned. Very excited for that. I actually have a board right over here, but I'm not going to show it to you. That is starting to be built for the 2025 draft, and it's looking pretty damn awesome. Very stoked for that, so you guys stay tuned. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe to all that fun YouTube jazz. We're on the way to 10K, and only y'all can make that happen. So let's make it happen. Let's get right into this. Below my face is my board. Below that is going to be some exclusive ways to get connected, as well as take advantage of being able to watch the show with our sponsors like UnderDog Fantasy, as well as Olipop. So 2 of my favorites in the world. Yes, underneath my face, you can read all that good stuff, the entire video, so feel free to do so. Starting out with the number 1 pick, this is a live mock draft. We have the Chicago Bears. And the real question is, do you want Marvin Harrison or do you want to trade back? That's the ultimate debate. I've been consistently saying go Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that's the smart thing to do. I also don't think it's a dumb thing to trade out of this pick. Some people believe you go Caleb Williams here. I wouldn't shame that either. Caleb Williams, personality issues aside, is probably one of the best, if not the best talents that we've seen out of college football at the quarterback position. He at least is one of them. Not many people, if any, could make the plays that he does. Now, he does have some negative plays in there, absolutely. But the fact is, he has one-of-one plays. You can't find that from every quarterback. So there is a legitimate debate for Caleb. There's a legitimate debate for Marvin. The question is, do you want to trade out? And, because of the fact that you have this pick, it's proof that trading out does have some positive ramifications for your team. I think we are going to trade out this time because I usually only trade out with the Cardinals. Deep down inside, also my arrogant self wants to put Marvin Harrison Jr. in a Cardinals jersey on the thumbnail, but that's between you and me. So we're going to be trading out the spot. I know the Giants were the team to trade up to 1 or 2. That's just what I have to do. I know that the Giants could be happy waiting for Drake Maye, but the ultimate fact is if I take Marvin Harrison Jr. here, one team's going to trade up for Caleb or Marvin, and the other team, and then the Patriots are going to get the other one. The quarterbacks are going to go by 3. The question is, who's going to take their pick? And Chicago is going to say, hey, we're losing out on Marvin, but we get every other player in the class, and we get our picks back. I think that is pretty damn awesome. So we are going to trade for that number 1 overall selection. Maybe we could toss in a future 2026 second-round pick in there. I think the Giants are going to want to keep their selections for the time being with like Evan Neal, or keep their players, like Evan Neal. Maybe you can, squeeze back pick number 132. That's not going to affect this mock draft, but for the sake of argument, we're going to do that. New York has an extra second-round pick. The Bears traded theirs away. This is a good way to be able to recoup that draft capital because this team is not necessarily 1 or 2 players away. The Giants, I wouldn't say they're 1 or 2 players away either, but they're desperate for a quarterback, while the Bears actually have a potential future there. So the New York Giants trade up to number 1 overall. Caleb Williams makes plays that nobody else can. So I already talked about it. Those one-of-one plays. If you're able to work with his personality, and to be fair, I haven't seen his personality be a major negative to the teammates around him. Like, he has, some immaturity here and there, sure. But I have yet to see people, his teammates like Marshawn Lloyd, just walk away from him because he's being snappy or being like a wuss. Granted, I want my quarterback to, stand up and be the face of my organization. Absolutely. But the talent that you put on the field sometimes can outweigh the, little sissy stuff that we kind of deal with Caleb Williams. So for me, the talent level is ridiculous. He is 7-5 this year, and I don't think he had a win versus a ranked team. That is a genuine concern. But football is also a 22-person sport. It's also technically a 53, but, let's not get into the intricacies there. But Caleb Williams is the best player in the class. Him and Marvin Harrison. There's no debate on that. Drake Maye makes an argument, but you will not find a Caleb Williams every single year. You won't find him every 5 years. He is the most talented quarterback since Patrick Mahomes. The question is it worth taking the risk of his personality. I think in New York, you're going to take it. You are. He's feisty on the field. He knows how to make wins happen until his defense fails. But we have enough picks in this draft to be able to help the defense out as well. So Caleb Williams is going to be the selection. At pick number 2, it's Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't think I need to explain that too much. However, getting a pure wide receiver 1 for Kyler Murray, not a bad idea. Also, it's going to look sick on the thumbnail. But at pick number 3, we got Drake Maye. Again, another one where, we're seeing how the dominoes fall. The pieces fell into place. So Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake Maye, picks number 2 and 3. The Patriots do need a quarterback. I don't feel like that's a wild suggestion either, but it is what it is. At pick number 4 for the Bears, I'm debating trading out of this spot as well. You got Brock Bowers and Olu Fashanu here. I do think the Bears could be a team that is interested in Olu Fashanu, but ultimately it really comes down to like him and Brock Bowers being supreme talents. I would take Brock Bowers here because of the fact that I think that he is a generational player. You missed out on Marvin Harrison Jr. by getting pretty compensated pretty damn fairly, I must admit. So you guys will be able to get your own super weapons in this draft. Don't worry about it. Also, there's a lot of wide receivers in this draft. I'm not going to be too concerned. But, I do think Brock Bowers is a great option. Olu Fashanu is a great option for this team. I'm looking for some teams that might be wanting to trade up for a weapon like Brock Bowers. I do think the Chargers should be open to this idea of moving up here. They need a boundary corner too, but besides that, I don't see too many issues with the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't. Linebacker, they're still developing. They got Diane Henley there too. Again, wide receiver, they have their guys for one more year. There's definitely a couple spots where you can go with the Chargers, but ultimately, if you have the option to get Brock Bowers, this is probably your opportunity to go get it. And for the Bears, I think it's just a smart idea to let a team that is really just probably going to look to build around Justin Herbert, this is their opportunity. So I don't think it might require a future first. It might, but I'm not going to allow that to happen. We're going to actually toss in a 3rd round pick as well as a 2nd in the future years. So the Bears are loading up on future draft capital, as I think they should. I think they should get Justin healthy. They get the team around him, and when they give him the contract, that's when you surround him with a ton of young talent. Also, now we have even more to trade up with. But I just don't feel like the value is proper here for the Bears. So you move back twice. You're going to get a ton of draft capital. Brock Bowers goes to the Chargers. Now we can get someone like Olu Fashanu here and be very, very happy. His talent is ridiculous. He needs to learn how to hold up to power rush a lot better. But he's going to be one hell of a combo there with Darnell Wright. 2 of my favorite tackles over the past 2 years. You're building a foundation for success. Your team is essentially going to have so many picks that you're also going to get quality with that quantity. That to me is where the value is going to really start kicking in. So Olu Fashanu, the pick there for the Bears. For the Titans, I know I stole Olu Fashanu from you because I actually went Joe Alt for the Bears last time. But realistically, you're going to get one of the two. Like based on how the draft falls, you're going to get one of the two. So Olu Fashanu for the Bears, Joe Alt for the Titans. Left tackle is a huge need. I'm even debating having them try Peter Skoronski over there, and I would prefer for him to stay at guard. So it's a pretty big need. Going Joe Alt, I actually debated trading up with the Titans just to get a tackle, but I assumed that they would be able to sit and wait. At pick number 7, I kind of shellacked my Commanders here. I don't know why I said my Commanders. To be fair, I do love Sam Howell with all of my heart. They could be in the mood to go after an edge rusher like Leatu Latu here. That is a potential realistic move. However, this offensive tackle class is not too great. So looking at it's really top heavy. That's what I should say. Looking at the options available, you got Talise Fuaga here, who I absolutely adore. He's slid down my board a little bit just because he's not bouncing back the way I would hope after having some stumbles. JC Latham's incredible as well. You can't go wrong with either one. The question is, how run dominant do you want to be? I feel like JC Latham's a little bit more polished as a pass protector. I do think Talise is a better player, but JC might be the more polished player day one. So I'm going to go with JC here. I think Talise needs to be in an environment that's a little bit more tough nose football, like hard nose football. They need to just absolutely shellac people. And I am all down for JC Latham being just a little bit more boring, but a lot more consistent day one. He just doesn't fit the Commander's mantra to go after someone like Talise. I really do feel like JC Latham also will go above Talise Fuaga because he's also faced a lot better talent there. But can't really say much. Talise has faced some pretty damn good players this year, including Braylon Trice this past week, which we'll talk about on Thursday. Braylon Trice won that battle, so it's a little bit unfortunate. But at pick number 8 for the Falcons, we are going to be going a quarterback here. We are. It's the battle between Bo Nix, Michael Penix, and Jayden Daniels. Like it's the battle between the three. I feel like Jayden Daniels has been a little too up and down compared to Bo Nix and Michael Penix this year. To be fair, Michael Penix did just come off a 140-yard game. 5 big-time throws, though. Don't know how that's possible. They're all about the same age, if I'm not mistaken. Jayden might be 22, Bo Nix 23, and Michael Penix 23 as well. Like, that's not old. I don't know why that people are thinking that's old. I mean, tell an old person that, they'll smack you in the face. These quarterbacks last till they're like 35, 36, up to 40 years old now. And naturally, if you get a quarterback past their first contract, that's a big W. So don't really feel like age is that much of an issue unless they weren't good until recently. Bo Nix was in a shitty situation. And then last year, when he was 22, he really came out and started looking really damn good. Like, Bo Nix was in an awful situation there at Auburn. Nobody could succeed there. Like, that's his big mulligan, is the fact that we all know that Auburn team was, like, the whole entire Auburn organization needed a whole reset. He came to Oregon, and then he's been absolutely spectacular. Michael Penix, it was just injuries. That's the real reason that he had an issue. Granted, he had some 50% games in there where he threw 50% completion percentage, but he still looked very good there at IU. Jayden Daniels has his own struggles too. I am going to go the Bo Nix train. I know, I have a sick Jayden Daniels pick where he has a jersey swap thanks to TDN, where I could put it also on the thumbnail. But I'm going to go with my board, and I have Bo Nix as the next best quarterback. And he also operates the offense so well. I would not be, again, if you really want Jayden Daniels, I'm not going to complain about it. Go get Jayden Daniels. Like, that is a perfectly fine selection. I'm just not there yet. And I think both can operate the offense pretty similarly. But Bo Nix is a better game manager, in my opinion. Pick number 9, this is going to be Talise Fuaga. When in doubt, Talise Fuaga it out. Also, another reason why I'm going tackle so early with 4 of them in the top 10, I'm having Amarius Mims return. This guy's 6'7", 340, should be a top 5 pick, and he's not able to even play a full game yet. Naturally, he's going to want to return, as he should. At pick number 10 for the Buccaneers. For me, at this point, again, I've talked about this several times. I'm going at quarterback here. I need to do my own research on this. I said this yesterday, so that's on me for not doing it. But somebody brought up that Jayden Daniels might be higher on their board or as high as, the top 2. For me, I find that really interesting. I don't really believe that would be true, but if it is, obviously I would take him. But they do need a quarterback for the future. Baker, I love Baker with all my heart. I think he should be a fringe starter for a team that doesn't have a choice like Michael Penix on their board. I don't really feel like the value of any other position is going to be remotely worth it. Therefore, I'm going to be going Michael Penix Jr. here. At pick number 11 for the Jets, we have eviscerated the tackle class. Like, they're already all gone because Amarius Mims is gone. Like, that's why I'm putting him in the video later this week. I'm very excited for that. But then we got, Graham Barton. Like, you're going to start Graham Barton? No. So, bye-bye tackle class. So we're pretty much done with that for the time being. Maybe we sneak somebody in later in the later part of the round. Looking at other positions, I do know they tried to get Fletcher Cox. They could go after another defensive interior. I don't feel like that's the right route to go. I think the best route to go is after a wide receiver. And Keon Coleman's here. I think he's an amazing compliment to Garrett Wilson. It's a way to give Aaron Rodgers his YOLO option as well. He's also a true X receiver. He's a blue chip player on my board, well deserving of this selection. At pick number 12 for the Bears, we've traded back multiple times. We've gotten a ton of draft capital, which again, this team kind of limited their own draft capital here. We could go Malik Neighbors. I don't feel like that's a bad idea. I was going to go after one of the edge rushers, but Malik Neighbors is here. Emeka Ibuka is here. We could trade up to get Emeka later on, though. I do feel like one of the edge rushers will fall. I'm going to feel a lot more confident about going wide receiver here and then going anything else. So you got Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Emeka Ibuka. Those are kind of the consensus top 3. I love Emeka Ibuka. He is my next best on the board. I don't feel like he will go before Malik Neighbors. I don't think it would be a bad option. I mean, I would personally be willing to trade out of the spot. Between you and me, I'd be willing to trade out of the spot. But I'm not going to do it again. I don't feel like that's very realistic. Looking at DJ Moore, he's the true X, and he's the guy who can separate through his route running ability. Malik Neighbors is someone who's going to be a prime deep threat and a great after-the-catch threat. Emeka Ibuka is going to be your standard, very solid guy over the middle. I would be very comfortable going Malik Neighbors here. With the picks that we do have, I honestly, if we end up missing out on edge rushers, I would not be mad with going Johnny Wilson for the slot. So we're going to go Malik Neighbors here out of LSU to pair up with DJ Moore. So now we have 2 offensive weapons. Yes, we need to fix the defense. We're gonna. I can guarantee you we are gonna. We have a ton of draft capital now, so we can use it to move up. At pick number 13 for the Los Angeles Rams, I think Leatu Latu might be their prime target here. Jerzon Newton as well. But Kool-Aid McKinstry is on the board, and I don't think this team can miss out on that. The defensive interior and edge class is a bit deeper than the corner class is. And Kool-Aid McKinstry is a superstar, so I want to give him the credit that he deserves. At pick number 14, I fell in love with this the moment y'all brought this up. Your head coach knows Jayden Daniels. He was the coach for the first 2 years that Jayden was at ASU. Sign me up. Sign me up. This is a good range for Jayden to go as well. This team's looking for a QB of the future. So you're having that instant coach chemistry, and this guy brings unlimited upside. You have an elite receiving core. This could be the spark your team needs. I'm a big fan. I hope that you keep your head coach because he's an absolute baller as well. For the Colts, literally minutes ago, we ended up seeing Shaq Leonard get released. Linebacker is now on the board. Not at this pick, but it is definitely on the board. I'd be willing to move out of this pick because you got some top tier edge rushers here, and I want some of them to go. You got some good wide receivers on the board. Want them to go. And you also have some good corners. The problem is there's not that many good corners. If I trade out this pick, I'm almost guaranteeing myself. I already know Cooper DeJean's my target here for the Bills. That's my dream target right there. Even for the the Broncos, I would be probably targeting a DB. So ultimately, are you willing to wait and see who falls to you, or do you want to get your guy? I'm going to go get my guy. I was hoping that maybe I could get a linebacker, but at 47, I should be able to do that quite fine. So it's down to Kalen King, Nate Wiggins, or Cooper DeJean. To me, I'm going to opt out of the normal route that I normally go, and I usually go boundary corner with Kalen King. I think that'd be perfectly fine. But I'm going to go Cooper DeJean because, 1, proximity, but 2, versatility. I do think that some of the safeties that are qualified in this class are probably going to drop out. So he is probably going to be one of the best, if not the best safety on the board. He's an elite slot player. He can play the boundary as well. He is very physical. So overall, this guy's going to be a major impact. And I don't feel like your team's ready now that you just lost the captain of your defense to make a push. So this guy will have time to develop into his own role, which I'm a big fan of. At pick number 16. So Jerzon Johnny Newton's here. I think I want to trade out of this pick. We don't have our second round pick. So I want to trade out of this spot. I'm looking at Jerzon Newton here. And I'm looking at the Cardinals. I'm getting very excited. You got Marvin Harrison Jr. already. This is a short range trade where I'd be pretty comfortable with probably who's ever going to fall here. I think that's the right move. Cardinals, let's go. I know that maybe I do trade up with the Cardinals quite a bit, to be fair. But, look at all these picks, man. Look at all of them. There's no reason to have to sit here and wait. And I do think it will be probably a third-round pick if we think about it, technically 14 to 16 is a third-round pick. This would probably require a second. So I'm going to use our early third-round pick, and maybe we'll toss in a fourth next year. Maybe we'll toss in a third next year. Maybe we'll toss in a fourth this year. Who knows? You can do your own negotiating right there. I'm not going to give up that pick 34. That's way too valuable. But what I wanted to do is get the Broncos at least a little bit more draft capital in the meantime. Jerzon Johnny Newton is now an Arizona Cardinal in a defensive interior that is really buns. At pick number 17 for the Bengals, Romo Dunze, probably one of my prime targets, thanks to Brett Coleman being just like in the back of my mind. There's not many great options. You could look at offensive line here. Graham Barton, to be fair, would be a good choice. You need help at either tackle or guard. I think that could be a smart move. He is a very talented player, extremely athletic. Jordan Morgan's going to be more the pure tackle, but I don't trust him the way I would trust Graham Barton to find a role in this offense. So for me, I am actually going to opt to draft Graham Barton because I do think the Steelers could be in range to go and move up for somebody who has that versatility as well. You got Leatu Latu on the board that I am getting really eager to get off the board, but the Bills are sitting here and they're going to be drafting Kalen King, boundary corner out of Penn State. He's pretty close to the New York area, so he's used to the elements. He is extremely physical. For me, he is on the boundary of being a blue chip player in the class. At pick number 19 for the Saints, again, QB, just not there because we're going to feature Shadur, Carson Beck. JJ McCarthy will come out in this class, but he's just been not doing too well over the past couple weeks. I mean, all of these quarterbacks, for the most part, besides Jordan Travis, Joe Milton, I don't think Jalen Milroe would come out, but honestly, wouldn't probably be a bad idea for him. There's a lot of options that I think would be, flexible, but I'm going to have him pushed to the 2025 draft. Joe Milton, Jordan Travis are probably and JJ McCarthy are the next best thing. That's not worth it at this pick. So I did this, I think, in my own mock draft. Leatu Latu is here. Certainly could take this pick on him. I want to look at some other options here. You could go and develop a safety in Cam Kinchens. Your DBs are getting old for sure, so it is always nice to get that infusion of youth. I just want to get Latu off the board. This team does need to look for a future above Cam Jordan. We unfortunately are not able to see enough Peyton Turner, but it is what it is. We're going to go Latu here. He's just too good a value to pass on. At pick number 20 for the Vikings, I'm looking at, all these edge rushers are on the board. It is too good. Too good of talent that's on the board. You got All Roads Lead to Rome as well, who's sitting here. For this team, quarterback is obviously a great choice, but I am going to opt out of doing that. I do think edge rusher is the right thing to do. Edge rusher is the right position. I've had a lot of pushback on going edge rusher for the Vikings, but it's one of the teams that just needs pretty much quarterback and edge rusher. You have two of them up for a contract this year. It's the right thing to do. Running back's not good enough value remotely. And I think Dalton Risner could be a valuable asset on this squad. So I'm going to be going Jared Verse. Surprise, surprise. I don't feel like he should be on the board. He is a top 10 player for me. In fact, he is number 9. I still have my number 5 and 6 player on the board, by the way. So just got to call that out. But at pick number 21, this is going to be one of those players. You got Dallas Turner and Braylon Trice. I love Dallas Turner with all my heart. I think Braylon Trice brings the size that Dallas Turner does not. It really depends on what you're in the mood for. I think Braylon Trice deserves more respect, but Dallas Turner is going to get the nod here. He has played far better tackles than Braylon Trice has in his time, and so I think people will naturally gravitate towards the Saban product. And this team gets extra picks and a superstar player. Kind of a W for me. Pick number 22 for the Seattle Seahawks. Another team that doesn't really need that much. I brought this up. I'm in love with the idea of sending Tyler Nubin to the squad. You have 2 safeties over 30 as of next year, and one of them could definitely be a cap casualty. I think one of them should. One of those being Quandre Diggs. I don't know if I'm trying to remember the structure of the contracts right now, how much is guaranteed, but I think I would eat it. There's not a quarterback remotely available. I wanted to move up with the Seahawks, but I mean, that would be a massive move up. Let's see where we could have moved up. Maybe the Jets? No. You would have to move up probably into the top 10 to get a quarterback. It might be worth it, but for me, you don't have any picks as well in the second round. You might not even re-sign Leonard Williams. I don't even know if you have the money to do that. So I'm going to move back here because there's still a superstar duo of edge rushers on the board. And that team I'm going to trade up with is a team that just got a ton of draft capital as well. The team's the Chicago Bears. Like, why not move up with the Bears? We're actually gonna get the New York pick actually to the Seahawks. But the Seahawks don't really have too much in draft capital this year, but they really don't have that much next year. So y'all are probably wondering, why do I have 3 second-round picks? This is going to be one of them. It's going to require a second-round pick to move up. Maybe you send like a future 5th as well, but the Bears have this draft capital for this type of move up. So Seattle is going to move back, get extra draft capital. Maybe they can end up getting a QB out of it too. And the Bears are moving up. The question is Chop Robinson or Braylon Trice. Braylon Trice has the size at 274 to match essentially what Montez Sweat used to have across from him and Chase Young. For me, I'm going to opt for that. I love Chop Robinson with all my heart. There's nothing against Chop. It's just Braylon Trice fits the mold just a little bit better. So now you got Braylon Trice, Malik Neighbors, as well as Olu Fashanu. It's a pretty good start to the draft. At pick number 23 for the Steelers, I'm thinking that I might have to opt for Nate Wiggins here. We need a boundary corner too. Levi Wallace is a bum. Pat Pete's getting old. We need to continue investing in that corner position. Nate Wiggins as a corner too would be a big plus. So for me, that's going to be the best value. We don't even have Graham Barton on the board to consider going after an interior offensive lineman. So we're going to be going Nate Wiggins there. At pick number 24 for the Texans, I'm debating on Chop Robinson here. I think he'd be an excellent addition across from Will Anderson and Jonathan Grenard for the future. Romo Dunze could be intriguing for sure as a deep threat, but I mean, I like the idea of Malik Neighbors on the squad, not Romo Dunze. A defensive interior, I usually go, so I'm trying to opt away from that from the time being. I might trade out of this position as well. With Chop and Rome on the board, as well as a Mecca, I do think that it is the right thing to do. Looking at my board, I also have Christian Haynes and Johnny Wilson on the board, but I understand Johnny Wilson and Christian Haynes will most likely not go in this range. So they're pretty much the next best guys as well. You got Denzel Burke and Dwight McLaughlin, but I'm going to make a move here. I am. Looking at the teams that could be in the mood for Chop Robinson, so a top-tier edge rusher, I could look at the Lions. I think that it would be a very smart move for them to move up for either Rome or Chop Robinson. Romo Dunze would probably be the more likely option, or Emeka Ibuka, but Emeka being the slot primarily makes me a little bit worried about that. Rome kind of does the same, but I think that would be a very smart move for the Lions. I think actually a smart move here would be for the Chiefs to move up. And it's not going to be as lucrative if you want to get future picks out of this. However, I am going to still, like, the Chiefs need to make a move for a top tier receiver at this point. I don't think it will cost, it's not going to cost just a 3rd round pick. I'm going to negotiate a trade here. We're going to take both of their picks because I don't think the Chiefs need very much. You can get other stuff free agency too. And we're going to actually essentially move back 30 spots to move up 6. It doesn't sound like it's a very good deal. So maybe we'll sweeten up the deal a little bit. Maybe the Chiefs are like, you know what? Give us a future 4th. Feel free to do your own negotiating. But I think that the Chiefs have a solid enough overall roster to where getting the value of a superstar receiver like Romo Dunze is worth the capital investment. So Romo Dunze goes to the Chiefs. Very expensive. Would love to hear what y'all think about that, though, because sometimes I think the price is worth paying. At pick number 25, we have the Dolphins, which I'm going to do everything in my power to keep them right here. Everything in me is saying, move back. Like, I really want to move back with this team. But I know my Dolphins fans have been saying, stay. Don't get why, but we'll see the options, and then we'll go from there. Because the best option here is Chop Robinson. Like, maybe we can make a small move. Maybe we can make it in the 1st round. Like, I would be willing to move with the Lions at this point. So I think that would be a smart move. It's the Lions, or maybe you could go with the Jaguars for a wide receiver. Hell, the Eagles could go after Emeka Ibuka at this point. That'd be kind of ridiculous. And I think he would work really well. He's a very solid route runner. I haven't done that for the Eagles. I haven't. That's a very Howie thing to do, is to either go D-line. I think Howie needs to make this move. We might not go after a wide receiver because I haven't decided on that yet. But even though this is going to be a similar range trade, I think the that's why. I was like, why do they have pick 64? I'm going to be giving a 3rd round pick probably in both years. Maybe, no, we have like no draft capital. Hello. This is going to be a unique trade. We're going to be moving back in 2025 because I think that 4th round pick, was that from the trade? Y'all got to remind me what that 4th round pick was from. It might be the Kevin Byard trade. But I feel like this is a very solid trade value for the Dolphins, given the fact that, the Eagles are not going to be a direct competitor in the playoffs. So we'll deal with it as it is. We have the Philadelphia Eagles moving up. The question is, do they want to go Chop Robinson or Emeka Egbuka? Both of them are very Howie moves. I feel like the need for a wide receiver 3 is going to be lower than going after an edge rusher. Chop doesn't fit the exact edge rusher archetype, but to be fair, the only next guy who would be JT Tuimoloau. So we're going to go Chop Robinson and see how he develops. At pick number 26, another reason why I moved up for Chop Robinson is because this would have been the pick for the Cowboys. That would have been the pick. So now I have to rebound and look at another position. I think corner is a smart position. I think linebacker is a smart position. Linebacker is too early in terms of the value. So I'm going to opt away from that. Left tackle, I don't trust Jordan Morgan enough yet. Again, Amarius Mims is returning. Got to remind y'all that because some of y'all don't listen to the start of the video. So I do think that would be a smart move or it would have been a smart move to go Amarius Mims if he's here. Jordan Morgan, not the best idea. Emeka Egbuka, it just depends on, I've seen that too many times now. I do think it is up in the air, but I don't know if I'm sold on it yet. I love the idea of Terrion Arnold because you're bringing in somebody to be a corner too. And Terrion Arnold is a beast number 2 corner. You already have success from Alabama, and so they're going to have a similar pedigree. This guy is well deserving of a 1st round pick, and I'm probably going to send him to the Niners at the next pick if we don't take him here. So similar to how the Eagles disarmed you of Chop, we're going to disarm the Niners of Terrion Arnold. Speaking of the Niners, we have pick number 27 here. Offensive line's probably the way that I would want to go. And, I think I'm going to go Kingsley Suamataia here. He's been playing left tackle, but I think his future's at right. At the very minimum, you can play him at right until Trent Williams retires if you do think he's the future at left tackle. I think that value is going to be coveted value. So Kingsley Suamataia is going to be the Niners' future at offensive line. At pick number 28 for the Jaguars, I'm going to go Emeka Egbuka here. All roads lead to Emeka Egbuka, apparently. That's usually what I say for Rome Odunze, but we had Rome be traded up for. I love Emeka. He is number 18 on my board. He's well deserving of it. Also, you can see I have some new additions to my board. I have been trying to update it as much as possible. At pick number 29 for the Ravens. For me, the Ravens need to go a corner, and there's a lot of really good ones on the board. I'm going to be opting for Denzel Burke. At pick number 30 for the Lions, this is another spot where we can go after another corner. I don't feel like it would be a bad idea. Looking at the wide receivers available, A.D. Mitchell wouldn't be a bad choice. Even Johnny Wilson wouldn't be a bad choice to put him on the boundary. He would be a unique weapon that, funnily enough, weighs it pretty much the same as Sam Laporta, but we can talk about that another day. I do think defensive interior is on the board, but the defensive interiors have kind of slid a little bit for me. So not necessarily in the mood to go after that route. It's a tough one. I could go Troy Fautanu here, though, or Christian Haynes. And you know what? I'm going to start putting respect on one of my favorite offensive linemen's names, and that's Christian Haynes here. He deserves to get some first-round nods. I've been letting him slip way too far in my mocks. He's the freaking number 12 player on my board. Why am I letting him slide that much? I don't know. So we're not going to let that continue. At pick number 31, we moved back with the Texans. And at this selection, we have a little bit more flexibility on what we'd like to do. I think Troy Franklin, honestly, isn't a bad choice for this team to add a deep threat option that, could be a true wide receiver 1. It is something that's unique. A.D. Mitchell would be a good choice as well, but I feel like he and Nico Collins are a little bit more similar. Tight end wise, not good enough. Defensive interior, though, I've taken Josh Sweat to this team, or Tavondre Sweat a lot of times. I might just opt to go back for the Chris Jenkins route. Edge rusher's not good enough value. I don't feel like wide receiver is going to push the needle enough for me at the moment. Corner is something that I could see them trying to target. Offensive interior as well. This team's not fully built out, but I do think that, the best way that you can pair them up is probably having Chris Jenkins. I know Dante Corleone, we're talking about, somebody brought up the fact that he is going to be very similar to what you already have in Rankins, but we're going to go Chris Jenkins here because, as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to have Dante Corleone return to school. Chris Jenkins, the best run defender in the class and also an extremely high upside pass rusher. At pick number 32 and ending off the first round, we got the Dolphins. We're back. I actually have the Dolphins staying in the first round this time. Offensive tackle Jordan Morgan's the guy who I think I'm going to opt for. I usually do it for y'all in the next round, but this time I think I'm going to push him here and get that 5th-year contract just to get a little bit more value on his contract overall, let him develop even more because he's going to be the future at left tackle, and there's not that many left tackles in this class. So that's going to be the video. We have quite a few guys that need to get off the board ASAP. I just wanted to show a little bit more love to my board this time by getting guys like Christian Haynes and Chris Jenkins early off. So thank you so much for watching, supporting the show. As always, see you on the far side.